When I was 7, the handsome man my mother brought home gave me a box of mangoes. That day, my father watched me devour the fruit, my face sticky and sweet. Then he signed his name on the divorce papers and jumped from the window of our apartment building. From that moment on, the mango became the stuff of my nightmares. So on our wedding day, I told my wife, Isabel, if you ever want a divorce, just give me a mango. She held me close and said nothing. But from then on, mangoes were forbidden territory for her, too. On Christmas Eve of our 5th year of marriage, her childhood friend, Leo, left a mango on her desk at the office. That same day, Isabel announced she was cutting ties with him and had him fired from the company. In that moment, I knew she was the woman I was meant to be with for the rest of my life. Until 6 months later, I had just returned from a 39-day grind overseas, landing a $100 million partnership deal. At the celebration party, Isabel handed me a drink. After I'd finished half of it, Leo, the same man she had supposedly fired, sidled up behind me, a smug grin on his face. "How's the mango smoothie?" he asked. I stared at Isabel in disbelief. She was trying to stifle a laugh. "Don't be mad," she said. "Leo insisted we play a little joke on you." "I didn't give you a mango," she added, "just a smoothie." She giggled. "Besides, I think Leo's right. This whole no mango thing is just a weird hang-up. You saw how much you were enjoying it." My face went cold. I lifted the glass and threw the rest of the smoothie in her face, then turned and walked out. Some things are never a joke. The mango wasn't. And my wanting a divorce wasn't either. "1 inch, mister." "Hayes, it's a stress-induced recurrence of your gastritis," the doctor said, his voice echoing in the sterile emergency room. "You need to avoid whatever it is you can't stomach. Next time, it might not just be stomach pain. You could be looking at surgery." He adjusted his glasses. "We'll keep you for observation overnight. You should notify your family." I fell silent. I had just spent 39 sleepless days in Europe hammering out the new deal, only to come home and be sent to the hospital by a mango smoothie from my own wife. Instinctively, I opened my phone to our pinned iMessage chat. I typed 2 words, then stopped. Something was off. I looked closer. It was definitely Isabel, but she'd changed her profile picture to a green mango. As I stared at the screen, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from her. Her voice was ice cold. "I'm home. Where are you?" Silence. Any other time, I would have forgiven her instantly, pretended nothing happened, and changed the subject. But tonight, I didn't know what to say. Isabel's frustration grew. "Ethan, how long are you going to keep this up?" "The hospital," I said flatly. There was a pause on her end. She had never cared about my health. It wouldn't have crossed her mind that her little joke could land me here. "Stay there. I'm on my way." I didn't want to see her, but my body was too weak to move. Time crawled by. The doctor checked on me 3 times. Isabel never showed up. Just before falling asleep, I scrolled through my phone one last time and saw Leo's new Instagram story. "Every time I get hurt, my princess appears like magic to fix it. It's a good life." The picture was of Isabel carefully placing a Band-Aid on his arm. His profile picture was a ripe, yellow mango. Beautiful, and it made me sick. We had known each other for 10 years. Isabel knew my boundaries. As a sharp businesswoman, she knew how to manage her relationships with other men. But now, she was crossing lines she'd never crossed before. Fine. The thread that tied our marriage together, and the new project I had just secured, that $100 million European partnership that held the company's future in its hands. None of it needed to exist anymore. 2, I woke up the next morning to no new messages, no missed calls from Isabel. I wasn't even angry anymore. After the doctor gave me the all-clear, I went straight home. The 5,000-square-foot luxury penthouse was something Isabel and I had bought with cash last year. 7 years ago, when we graduated, we were crammed into a studio apartment, splitting a bowl of instant ramen. 5 years ago, when we got married, we celebrated at a food truck and went home to a single cupcake from a corner store. Now, I was left to lick my wounds alone in this vast, empty space. I figured I'd get used to it. I was reviewing the divorce papers my lawyer had sent over when Isabel walked in. A heavy cloud of men's cologne followed her through the door, so strong it made me flinch. Isabel had sensitive skin. She was allergic to most cosmetics and hated perfume. Because of that, in all the years we'd been together, I never wore anything with a scent. Even my shampoo was carefully selected. It seemed her rules only applied to me. She saw me on the couch with my tablet and paused. "Leo got drunk and took a fall at the party last night. He was pretty happy about the deal. I took him home. She wouldn't meet my eyes. It got late, and his place is far, so I just got a hotel nearby. That's why I didn't make it to the hospital to pick you up." I nodded, canceling another one of our company's supplier contracts on my tablet. "Okay, got it," I said without looking up. Isabel hesitated, thrown off. My reaction wasn't what she'd expected. After a moment, she took a few steps closer. It's Saturday, she said, looking down. You should take a break from work. I'm planning on taking Leo to Paris for a vacation. Do you want to come with us? 7 years ago, on my birthday, Isabel and I took a $5 photo in a cheap photo booth at a street fair. Posing in front of the tacky Eiffel Tower backdrop, she swore that when we had money, she would take me to the real Paris to take the exact same picture under the real Eiffel Tower. Later, as our apartment got bigger and the company grew, she got busier. Ethan, she'd say, coaxing me, this is a critical growth period for the company. As the CEO, I can't just take off on a vacation abroad. You're the most understanding person I know. You get it, right? I did get it. So I stopped mentioning Paris and poured everything I had into the business, helping her build her empire. But it turned out that if Leo wanted to go, she had all the time in the world. I opened the next client's file on my tablet, my tone unchanging. Three's a crowd. I'm not interested. Hearing this, she seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, she said. I just came to grab a few things. You're on your own for lunch. We'll have dinner together tonight. She paused, looking at me seriously. And this new deal is crucial for breaking into the overseas market. I've invited the media for a press conference on Monday. You've always wanted to stand by my side publicly, right? Monday's your chance. You should get ready. She added, don't worry. This time, I'll introduce you properly. I won't let Leo cause any trouble. I glanced up at her, my face a blank mask. I knew exactly what this was, her way of compensating me for last night. Fine by me. It would take a few days for the cancellation of the European contract to process anyway. Announcing it at her press conference seemed fitting. 3 that evening, I arrived at the restaurant early, as I always did. It had become a habit over our 7 years together. While waiting, I got a call from an international number. It was Catherine Shaw, my former senior from my university days, who had also been my main competitor during the recent negotiations. Her voice was warm. Ethan, she said with a laugh, have you thought any more about my offer to join DM Group? Reed Innovations is too small for you. It doesn't deserve your talent. This was the 3rd time she tried to poach me. The first was 7 years ago, when I turned down a high-paying job at a multinational to join Isabel's tiny startup for $60,000 a year, half of which went to rent for our shared apartment. Catherine had tried to talk me out of it for hours, telling me I was wasting my potential. The second time was just a few days ago, across the negotiation table, where I had completely outmaneuvered her. Afterward, she'd approached me, half impressed and half wary. Ethan, I heard you're still making peanuts at Reed's company. Come work for me. Don't let your talent be buried by someone who doesn't appreciate it. I just smiled and refused. I could be buried. It was my wife's company, the empire we had built together over 7 years. The 3rd time was now. I paused for only 3 seconds, motioned for the waiter to bring me a bottle of red wine, and accepted her offer without hesitation. Send me the address. I'll start on Tuesday. The other end of the line was silent for a moment, then erupted in jubilant laughter. Great, Catherine said, hanging up quickly as if she was afraid I'd change my mind. I chuckled and was about to put my phone down when a message from Isabel popped up. Change of plans. Leo couldn't wait. We're heading to the airport now. You'll have to eat dinner alone. I'll have a surprise for you when I get back. A moment later, a new post appeared on Instagram, with Leo tagging me specifically. Thanks to my girl for making my dream come true. As a reward, I'll treat you to a big dinner tomorrow, winky face. The photo was of Leo holding Isabel's hand under the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It was identical to our cheap photo booth picture from 7 years ago. I stared at the photo for 2 seconds, then calmly closed the app and opened my chat with Catherine. I'm bringing a welcome gift. That $100 million European partnership. Interested? For my phone was quiet for a moment, then started vibrating uncontrollably. Yes, yes, yes. Ethan, you're too good to me. Yesterday was your birthday, wasn't it? The gift I sent should have arrived by now. Don't forget to pick it up. I froze. A slow smile spread across my face, starting as a quiet chuckle and growing into a laugh. That's right. Yesterday was my birthday. When Isabel watched me drink that mango smoothie, did she remember it was my birthday? When she was putting a Band-Aid on Leo's arm while I was lying alone in a hospital bed, did it occur to her to get a birthday gift for the man she'd been married to for 7 years? Probably not, but it didn't matter anymore. We were getting a divorce. Who needs a gift from their soon-to-be ex-wife? After dinner, I didn't rest. I dove headfirst into the European project files. After all, this was a gift from my new employer. It had to be perfect. For the next 2 days, I lived at the office, the lights in my room burning through the night. The staff noticed. In a group chat that I wasn't in, the gossip started flying. What did I tell you? The director makes, what, $60K a year? He depends on Ms. Reed for everything. How could he dare to throw a tantrum? If it weren't for his relationship with the CEO, With how well the company's doing now, they wouldn't even need him. I heard he was the one who held the company back when it was first starting. Otherwise, they would have gone public years ago. Leo, of course, screenshotted every message and sent them to me privately, following up with a patronizing voice message. Ethan, buddy, I know it must be tough being married to a powerhouse CEO like Isabel. It's got to make you feel insecure. But let me give you some friendly advice. A guy who's all work and no play is boring. Women prefer guys like me, young, handsome, energetic, and in great shape. I listened to his smarmy voice and laughed. Great. In that case, I'll have HR process your termination tomorrow. Wouldn't want you to be unable to attract women. I blocked his number and went back to my work. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Isabel, furious. Ethan, what did Leo do to you now? She yelled. It took everything I had to get him to come to Paris with me, to get him to forgive you for your behavior at the party, and now you've made him cry again. Are you happy unless you're causing drama? Forgive? Who? Me. I found it hilarious. While printing out the divorce papers, I asked casually, when are you and Leo getting back? We need to talk about the divorce. Her breathing hitched. Isabel's rage crackled through the phone. Ethan, are you ever going to stop? There's a limit to jealousy and tantrums. If you keep acting this childish, you're going to make me really angry. I froze, then burst out laughing. I had the divorce papers, printed in black and white, sitting right in front of me. Did she really think I was afraid of her getting angry? I've signed the papers. They'll be on your desk. Be sure to read them when you get back. Crash. It sounded like she kicked a chair. Fine, she seethed. Don't you regret this? The line went dead. I shrugged and signed my name on the papers. The next morning, the first thing I saw when I opened my phone was a notification from Isabel. It looked like she hadn't slept. At 4 a.m., she posted a public status update on her social media. It was a photo of her and Leo, their fingers intertwined, standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of a hotel room. The caption read, 7 years of storms. Thankful to have you by my side. Thousands of comments flooded in. Is it finally official? Is this the mystery man Ms. Reed has been hiding for 7 years? Isabel didn't reply, but she pinned a comment with a single shushing emoji. Then there was the company-wide announcement she'd posted in the general Slack channel. Effective immediately, Leo Vance will be taking over the position of project director. The European Partnership Project will be transferred to Mr. Vance. Tonight's press conference will also be led by Mr. Vance in Ethan Hayes' place. She knew I'd spent 39 sleepless days abroad to land that deal. She knew I'd spent my days buried in research and my nights networking, drinking until I felt sick, just to secure that partnership. And still, she did this, trying to force me to back down. My phone buzzed. A new message from Isabel. You still have a chance to apologize. I didn't reply. I tossed my phone aside and went to get ready for the day. She seemed to have forgotten one crucial detail. I was the one who made the European deal happen. The partners didn't sign with the company. They signed with me. 5 after getting ready, I went downstairs to grab some breakfast. When I came back, I found all of my belongings dumped outside my office door. My mug, my files, and the signed divorce papers, which had been ripped in half. The only thing that survived was our wedding photo, which someone had carefully placed on the windowsill. Leo was sitting in my chair, looking triumphant. Sorry, Ethan, he said with a sneer. Isabel already gave me this office. From now on, you'll be over there. He pointed to a leaky supply closet next to the men's room. I ignored him and turned to Isabel, who had been standing silently by the door. She looked exhausted, her eyes bloodshot, but a cruel smile played on her lips. Leo's right. I've already given him the office. But if you take back what you said about the divorce, maybe I could. No, thanks. I cut her off. I walked over to the windowsill, picked up our wedding photo, and meeting Isabel's slightly smug gaze, dropped it into the trash can. Don't need this anymore. You two can throw it out. I grabbed my laptop from the desk and walked out, pretending not to see the fury that flushed Isabel's face. Today was Monday. I had to be in Europe by Tuesday to start my new job. I had packing to do. I didn't go to the press conference that evening. Instead, I was at home, finalizing the last details with the European partners as a director from DM Group. The moment the confirmation came through, I received a message from Isabel. I've invited every major news outlet to a live broadcast of the press conference tonight. If you don't apologize now, the European project will really have nothing to do with you. I glanced at the message and switched my phone to Do Not Disturb. It was about time. I had a flight to catch. At 7 p.m., the media began to arrive. The event was being broadcast live across the city. Leo, looking dapper after a session with a celebrity stylist, stood with his arm linked through Isabel's, a brilliant smile on his face. Isabel, elegant in a gray power suit, anxiously scanned the crowd, her eyes searching for someone. Why isn't he here yet? The thought flickered through her mind, and her initial excitement began to curdle into unease. But the show had to go on. Isabel pursed her lips and took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Isabel Reed, CEO of Reed Innovations. Today's press conference is to announce our company's partnership with GK Group on the Victoria Project. This project will... Hold on. A reporter with a Bloomberg press pass stood up abruptly. Ms. Reed, are you certain you mean the Victoria Project? Isabel froze. Of course. This is our company's. Her assistant rushed onto the stage, whispering frantically in her ear. It's bad, Ms. Reed. A minute ago, DM Group released an official statement. They've taken over the Victoria Project. Ethan Hayes has joined their company. 6-inch what? The words didn't register at first. Isabel stared blankly, unable to believe what she was hearing. Everyone in that room, especially a seasoned player like her, knew exactly what it meant to have a project announced by a rival company. Leo's face went pale. That was a $100 million deal. Without that European contract, the company's survival was in question. Did that mean his dream of being Mr. Reed was over after just one day? He looked at Isabel worriedly, only to see her still frozen on stage, speechless. She still couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe that after the divorce, I would be so ruthless. Reporters swarmed her, shoving microphones in her face, but she couldn't form a response. She was like a statue, rooted to the spot, nearly stumbling. For so many years, I had always been lenient with her. She never imagined I would be this decisive. Her birthday for me had just passed. Suddenly, Isabel's mind flashed back to the first birthday we celebrated together at the company years ago. We had no money, and the office was bare bones. She had brought out a small cake, and we lit the candles in that simple room. She had been so good to me then, so apologetic that all she could give me was a cheap cake and a meal at a local diner. Watching her look so down, I had sworn to her that one day I would lead her and her company to the pinnacle of the industry. I had always been confident in my abilities, and I had delivered on that promise. Without me, Reed Innovations likely would have failed years ago. It never would have reached its current scale. But as the company grew, as she transformed from an unknown entrepreneur into a celebrated female tycoon, she forgot who was truly keeping the ship afloat. For years, thanks to my efforts, she had basked in the glory of being CEO Isabel Reed. Everyone praised her as a self-made business genius, never knowing that I, the man she kept hidden in the shadows, was the true helmsman of the company. I used to complain about her refusal to take me to networking events or to publicly acknowledge my role. But she would tell me it was because she loved me too much and didn't want business to interfere with our relationship. It sounded flawed, but I was so in love with her that I foolishly accepted it. It wasn't until Leo appeared, ready to claim the title of Mr. Reed, that I realized how absurd I'd been. It seemed she still didn't understand what losing me truly meant. Good. Let her watch as years of her hopes and ambitions turned to dust. Let her learn that with me, she was the celebrated Isabel Reed. Without me, she was nothing. Her assistant nudged her. Ms. Reed, she urged, you have to do something. How are we going to explain the European deal to the media? This isn't just about the money. It's about our company's credibility and public image. The assistant's words broke the dam. The reporter's questions became a deafening roar. Ms. Reed, can you confirm if Reed Innovations ever secured the Victoria Project? Or is there something else going on here? Ms. Reed, I'm hearing that DM Group was able to secure this deal because they poached a key figure from your company. Can you comment on that? Ms. Reed, hello. Our sources indicate that you and the recently resigned Mr. Hayes had a close personal relationship, and that Mr. Vance here allegedly came between you, driving Mr. Hayes away. Is there any truth to these rumors? The questions came one after another, aggressive and relentless. Worse, the reporter's inside information was not only sharp but accurate. The barrage of questions left her with no room to even attempt an explanation. Besides, my move had been so absolute that there was no salvaging the situation. Her only hope of saving her reputation was to get me back to the company to continue leading the Victoria Project. There was no other way. With the help of her assistant and security, Isabel and her team fled the press conference and retreated to a backstage dressing room. The entire company was in chaos, scrambling to manage the fallout and suppress the trending stories online. But the news had exploded too quickly. It was impossible to contain. Meanwhile, DM Group was fanning the flames, releasing more details about their close collaboration with GK Group on the Victoria Project. On top of that, Thanks to Leo's high-profile Instagram posts, speculation about our three-way relationship was rampant online. The prevailing theory was that Leo was the other man who had driven me away, and Isabel was the ruthless tycoon who had dumped the husband who helped build her empire once she made it big. For a company of its size, that kind of public image was a fatal blow. But at that moment, Isabel seemed deaf to the noise around her. Her fingers were clenched so tightly around her phone it looked like she might shatter it. A closer look revealed she was dialing the same number over and over on the dark screen, but the call never connected. Finally, the battery died. Realizing I had blocked her number, Isabel unleashed her fury. She hurled the phone at the wall, where it smashed into pieces. Without a second thought, she snatched her assistant's phone, who was in the middle of begging a PR firm to kill the story, and continued dialing my number. Once, twice, a third time, nothing. Finally, she resorted to a barrage of frantic text messages. Ethan, where are you? You were in charge of the European project. What is going on? Are you trying to ruin me? Stop this. No matter what, I will not agree to a divorce. Come back to me and fix this mess. We're husband and wife. We promised to be together forever. Have you forgotten? Message after message went unanswered. Isabel ordered her assistant to keep calling, but by then, my phone went straight to voicemail. The assistant timidly showed her the red call failed screen. Ma'am, Mr. Hayes has turned his phone off. Isabel's face darkened, her expression turning ugly. But the nightmare wasn't over yet. Just when she thought things couldn't get worse, another assistant burst into the room, pale and panicked. Ms. Reed, it's terrible. Mr. Hayes just posted your signed divorce papers on his Twitter account. And what? Isabel asked, her face ashen. And a screenshot of Mr. Vance's Instagram post, the assistant whispered, her voice barely audible. The one that said, 7 years of storms. Thankful to have you by my side. It was as if Leo was waking from a long dream. He stumbled out from a corner of the room, grabbed the assistant, and yelled, half accusing, half panicked, What did you say? Who gave that bastard Ethan permission to do that? If Leo had the nerve to be the other man, he knew that if the truth came out, he'd be drowned in public contempt. My tweet had just hammered the final nail in the coffin for both of them. My leaving with the Victoria Project would no longer be seen as cruel. People would see it as a brilliant, calculated act of revenge. Before Leo could say another word, Isabel slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed in the silent room. His head snapped back, and he stumbled to the ground, a red welt already forming on his cheek. He stared at her in disbelief. Who gave you the right to talk about him like that? Isabel's voice was shaking with rage. Ethan Hayes is my husband. What are you? Her mind raced back through the countless times I had forgiven her after being pushed to my breaking point. A wave of regret washed over her for how she had neglected me. But she still believed that no matter what had happened, I still loved her. She made a silent vow. She would get me back. She would win my heart again. She would not agree to this divorce. Everything that had happened was just a small, unfortunate chapter in their lives. 7 My life at GK Group's European headquarters was good. Catherine recognized my abilities and put me on several major projects. The fact that I had arrived with a $100 million dowry silenced any executives who might have been skeptical of my sudden high-level appointment. Here, hard work and compensation were directly proportional. I was no longer doing $50 million work for a $60,000 salary. I felt free. Work was demanding, which kept my days full. I gradually began to forget the past. The bitterness I held toward Isabel and Leo faded, or perhaps it's more accurate to say I couldn't be bothered to care anymore. I never expected my peaceful new life to be interrupted so soon. The seasons were turning toward autumn. The plane trees outside the office were shedding their golden leaves. And there, standing in the soft European breeze, was the tall, achingly familiar figure of Isabel. It was clear from her silhouette that the past few months had taken their toll. She looked exhausted, with no energy left for appearances. She seemed worn, older. I had no desire to get entangled with her again, no desire to even speak to her. I tried to slip past unnoticed, but it was no use. The moment she saw me, she rushed forward and grabbed my arm, her eyes pleading. We need to talk. I shook her hand off. What is there to talk about? I said coldly. 10 minutes, she begged, her voice fragile. Ethan, I have never begged anyone for anything in my entire life. Please, I'm begging you. Just give me 10 minutes. The irony was staggering. We had fought for years to build our company in Chicago, closing deal after deal, and she claimed she'd never begged anyone. Of course she hadn't. The company's profits, every single contract, had been secured by me, by calling in favors, by drinking myself sick at dinners, by pulling all-nighters to perfect proposals. She never had to lift a finger, so who would she have needed to beg? I found myself morbidly curious to hear what other hurtful nonsense could possibly come out her mouth. I stopped trying to pull away and led her to a nearby cafe. I started a stopwatch on my phone and waited. "Ethan, where have you been? Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you?" She began, her words as polished and insincere as ever. "When I left, I made my move public. Any idiot knew where I was, let alone her. The lengths she would go to in order to perform this charade of devotion were truly something else." I glanced at my watch and smirked. "If you're going to waste my time with this garbage, we don't need to spend the next 8 minutes here." Her words caught in her throat. "Ethan," she said, flustered, "we don't have to be like this. I really have been looking for you. You left so suddenly, I wasn't prepared." She took a breath. "Couples fight and make up. I didn't do anything to wrong you. Why did you have to be so extreme and demand a divorce? You have to at least give me a reason. I don't believe it's because of Leo. It was just a joke. If you don't like him, I'll fire him when we get back. You'll never have to see him again. Or was it really about the European deal? If that's the case, then After all these years of marriage, she still didn't know me at all. I couldn't stand to listen to her baseless speculation any longer. "Isabel," I interrupted, cutting straight to the point, "do you remember what I told you on our wedding day?" She frowned, searching her memory for a long moment before giving up. Of course, I shouldn't have expected her to remember. It was just a mango, just a joke. I was the one who was overreacting, the one who couldn't take a joke. But Isabel, the one person in the entire world who should never have hurt me was you. Seeing my silence, something seemed to click in her mind. "Don't tell me you're still angry about that mango smoothie," she exclaimed, incredulous. "Is it really that serious? It was just a smoothie. If you don't like it, we won't joke about it again. Besides, I checked that day. You're not even allergic. Or is this really about Leo?" She was tearing open my oldest wound without a shred of care. I sat there, staring at her for a long time, until all the fight went out of me. I leaned back in my chair, and in a voice that sounded unervingly calm even to myself, I told her, "When I was a kid, my mom had an affair. She brought the man home, and he gave me a mango. Back then, mangoes weren't common. I was curious, so I sat on the couch and ate it. My dad came home and saw the mango in my hand. He didn't say a word. He just walked to the window and jumped." Isabel's mouth fell open. Her expression shifted from shock to stunned silence. "You said it was just a joke," I continued. "Maybe to you it was, but it wasn't to me. So can I go now?" I stood up to leave. Isabel knew that if she let me walk away this time, it would be over for good. She lunged forward, blocking my path again. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't know," she cried, grabbing my hand and pulling it toward her, trying to make me hit her. "It was my fault. I was horrible. Hit me. Please hit me." Her theatrics ignited a firestorm of anger in me. I wrenched my hand free and slapped her across the face. The sharp crack echoed through the quiet cafe. "Have you made enough of a scene?" I yelled. "I'm not telling you this because I want an apology," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "I'm telling you this so you understand that we are over. The mango was my line in the sand. You crossed it for Leo, and that means there's no going back for us. Do you understand?" It was like she couldn't hear me. Her eyes were filled with a profound sadness. "So you hate me that much?" she whispered. "You hate me so much that you had to take the Victoria Project to bankrupt the company we built together just to get back at me? You're overthinking it. The Victoria Project was always mine. I was just taking what belonged to me. Now stop hounding me." My words didn't seem to register. She looked like her soul had left her body. "If I didn't care about you taking the project," she murmured, "and if there was no Leo, and no—" Her voice became a choked whisper. "No mango that day. Would you come back to me? If. The world is full of ifs." I pulled my arm from her grasp. "No," I said, my voice firm and final. I walked out of the cafe, not bothering to look back at the expression on her face. After that day, Isabel started showing up at my office constantly, refusing to return to the States. Catherine, worried I might fall back into old habits, gave me a daily lecture. She was convinced Isabel was only there for the $100 million deal, not because she actually loved me. She promised she would help me get rid of my toxic ex. I knew Catherine meant well, but the Victoria Project was already well underway, with both companies deeply invested. Even if I were a complete novice, I wouldn't be stupid enough to walk away at this stage. "Don't worry," I told her. "I'm not going back with her." Catherine eyed me skeptically. "I don't know. You worked for her for peanuts for years. What if you bolt?" I just smiled and didn't answer. That was then. This is now. Fortunately, Isabel's persistence had its limits. After weeks of hounding me with no success, she finally seemed to accept that some things couldn't be forced. She returned to Chicago, defeated. The same day she landed, Leo was right back by her side. As the man who had brazenly tried to steal my job, He had no concept of how vital I was to the company. He thought Isabel could run things just fine without me. He was still clinging to his dream of becoming Mr. Reed, of marrying into wealth. The moment she was back, he was all over her. "Izzy, don't be sad over someone who isn't worth it," he said, trying to rally her spirits. "I'm here. Even without his stupid project, we can keep the company afloat. We can't give up. Tomorrow, we'll go out and land a new deal. You'll show that man he made a huge mistake not choosing me." Isabel, her head already spinning from his misplaced bravado, somehow forgot her own limitations. Having coasted on my success for so long, she actually started to believe she had the talent to continue as CEO. But she forgot that in business, reputation is everything. Losing the Victoria project was a blow, but the public confirmation of her affair and Leo's role as the other man was catastrophic. Her name and her companies were mud in the industry. No one would work with them. At first, Leo was full of fighting spirit, working late on proposals and secretly tracking my progress overseas. But the more successful I became, the more imbalanced and jealous he grew. 3 months in, when Reed Innovations couldn't make payroll and had to start liquidating assets, he finally snapped. "Can you even run a goddamn company?" he screamed at her. "At this rate, we're going to lose everything. Forget being Mr. Reed. I'll be begging on the streets with you." Isabel, staring at a spreadsheet filled with professional jargon she didn't understand, was already at her wit's end. "You have the nerve to blame me?" she shot back. "How are you any better than Ethan? He never bothered me with these small details. All I ever had to do was sign the papers. I never had to work this hard." They tore into each other, all pretense is gone. But their fighting couldn't stop the inevitable. Soon, Reed Innovations collapsed. To cover the financial hole, a court ordered them out of the penthouse we once shared so it could be auctioned off. Even after losing everything, they didn't try to find honest work. To maintain their lavish lifestyle, they turned to gambling and quickly burned through what little they had left. The last I heard of them, they had been arrested for theft and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The news reported on the final, pathetic downfall of two once-celebrated figures. Meanwhile, my life and career only got better. 2 years later, on the strength of my outstanding performance and having led my team to close several high-profit deals that were considered nearly impossible, I was promoted. I was named the CEO of DM Group's North American division. On the day of my official appointment, the company held a major press conference. Many of the reporters in attendance were the same ones who had been at Isabel's disastrous announcement. They were fascinated by my journey over the past few years, and I answered all of their questions. Only the very last reporter asked something completely unrelated to the day's event. "Mr. Hayes," she said, "are you aware that today is the day your ex-wife, Isabel Reed, officially begins her prison sentence? Your sudden departure from her company is still a topic of much debate. Would you be willing to share your side of the love, hate, and drama between you and Ms. Reed?" I paused for a moment, then smiled. "I'm grateful for everything in the past, and I wish the best for everything in the future. But the past is the past. It's time to turn the page." The reporter asked no more questions. I thought to myself, let the past end here. I will be happy. I will be happier and happier.